Jeremy White podcast.
With Bustan. For the best Lebanese cuisine in Montreal, it's got to be Bustan. Visit bustan.ca.
Watch the Jeremy White podcast exclusively on YouTube.
Friends that during this past year that would never grow a beard. I don't know what particular reason other than fuck it. The same reason why I don't wear shoes most of the time.
You know what? Honestly, listen, pandemic. You're not going anywhere. You're not seeing anybody except for Zoom.
Not really, sadly. But, thank God we may have a shot at coming back.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
I'm praying to God. It's not just wishful thinking, I mean,
Yeah.
okay. If you looking on a positive side, I was able to stay home, sleep in my own bed, see my children, hang out with my new girlfriend and really solidify our relationship, make plans to fix up the house, make a bunch of plans, hang out, see. But the bad part is we couldn't do our job, which is not really a job. It's my passion, which is to play music in front of people.
Right.
Now everybody's afraid of everybody. You got to wear a mask everywhere. I had to wear a hazmat suit to mix my solo record. I mean, I cut it before the COVID thing happened. But, unfortunately, an only way to get rid of this is to really do something extreme. I'm not sure what that is yet, but I'm willing to do it to stop it so that it'll put everybody, or at least come up with a vaccine that's real. I don't know if this is real. I love the press.
Yeah.
I do love the press for it, but,
it gives you an optimistic
see
kind of
what
feeling.
The press is doing on the other end of it too, so you kind of makes you question everything.
The fake news media. You can never.
Ever since they brought up that term, that and alternative facts are the two things in our vernacular that should have never ever been introduced.
Yeah.
Because
it makes you question everything.
CNN is not fake news. I mean, fake news is anybody that doesn't like you.
Exactly.
It's like saying you're a fake friend. You don't really like me.
But
you're okay because you
to
like
your
it.
face. I'm like, oh man, you're fucking great. But then behind your back, that prick.
Exactly that, man. It's exactly that. And I just kind of shaking my head and my old ass, going like, wow, I'm more worried about my 4 kids, not me. I had a great life.
No, I hear you. And you got this new record coming out. I Found the Sun Again. What's that title about?
Well, that was written for my new girlfriend, but I'm also me letting go of the past and the negativity that went with it, and took some time for myself to rethink how I want to live the rest of my life on the back 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how much I got. I mean, my friends are dropping like flies, and I'm still not over the loss of Ed, because we were dear friends for over 40 years, and that crushed me.
Yeah. Well, I just saw the picture you posted on Twitter
I've lost 3 of my other best friends in the last year and a half, and the wagon starts circling around. You start going, okay. I keep going to the doctor, going, okay, all right, I'm okay. He goes, you're really okay, man.
Yeah. No,
I don't know. I still love doing what I'm doing. I miss doing it, So I was able to make the record, and I was also, encourage Joseph to finish his and get him a deal on the same label. And then we're coming out the same day. And we thought after David and I lost this lawsuit over our name, which should have been taken care of in 1977, but wasn't, and somehow blamed on me. I'm not going to get into it because I get sued every time I fart.
Yeah.
And so I got to be real careful who I'm dealing with here.
So you lost the lawsuit.
We spent all this money. We have all these legal fees. I should use the name TOTO that I've been in for 45 years in all 15 incarnations. 15. That's right. You heard it from me. That means changing one member, a different singer, or the loss of guys to death, tragically, and or retirement or medical reasons, or they really did retire. They were older than me. I was the youngest guy in the band. I've been the only guy that's ever been in all 15 incarnations. And David Page stands with Joseph and I. And he said, even though medically he can't do the world tours and stuff, he's still at every rehearsal, being our musical director, and he's going to sit in on a few things during the live cast, which is, the thing about these live casts is we're not like, Celine Dion or something with this mega production, This is to show off the new band and what it's all about with the new players. It's pretty stark. We're doing the best we can with it, but we just basically rented a soundstage, put up some cameras, and played the show. The shorter version we leaned a little bit on the TOTO catalog to prove the guys could play it, and so the fans could see it one time. And it's a one-time showing only thing. And it's raw, but it's real. And that's what's important. I mean, at my age, nobody's showing up to see how my ass looks in the jeans. You know what I mean? I'm just lucky people show up. You know what I mean? And I'm not in competition for who's the best baddest. There's a 7-year-old girl that plays faster than I ever was.
Oh man.
So it's just really not about that anymore. I'm just really comfortable in my skin being a 63-year-old guy in love with the great girls. Yes, she is a little younger than me, but maybe that's what keeps me
Hey now.
She also takes care of me and cooks for me really healthy, so I stay healthy. I'm
Can't
the only
beat
guy
that.
that lost weight during the pandemic, okay? Most people just fed up on pizza, chips, and burgers delivered to the house.
Sitting on their
I
ass
get a
watching
whole cooked
Netflix.
meal, all 3 meals, and all the loving there is, and I see my children every day. I get to swim with my autistic son, who's 9 and loves to swim with dad. I keep my pool warm even when it's freezing outside, because it's a moment when he's away from all the gadgets and things that do feel. I mean, he's not extreme, thank God, but it's another thing that a father worries about. My other 3 kids, my oldest son has got a band and doing videos, and he's got a new record coming out soon. It's so incredible. I can't. It's named Lavara. You can check them out, and they're just coming on.
Yeah, he plays with the former drummer of One Direction.
Yeah. No, he's in the band, and he's a rocker though, man. This kid got some serious chops, and the singer is just outstanding. Like, he's a find. He's one of those guys. He looks like what Jesus would look like if it was a rock and roll singer. It has like a 6-octave range that he sings perfectly in tune in. We haven't had one of those in a long time. And Trev, my son, writes these songs that it's like,
oh wait, you disappeared again.
Hard rock, melodic, but still modern. Like, it's like kids would dig it, and chicks will definitely dig the band in terms of how they look. The One Direction thing was just sort of a fluke, I mean, it's just like him being my kid. It's like, well, he has a completely different view of music, but we can relate, and I'm super proud of him. That's all I can say is look out for them. As dad, now if I can shamelessly plug my kid's band, Lavara, on your fucking show.
Why not, man? I'm looking forward to that.
He's getting married too. He's engaged, and he's got a house, and he's already done well. He wrote Hailstorm's first hit single. He co-wrote it with him.
Yeah.
So he's got a first gold record and everything like that. Hold on a second. No. The host asked you to start my video.
Yeah, your video disappeared for some reason.
Did I? Oh, you know what? How about this?
There you go. Nice. Got it.
Okay. Sorry about that, man.
Don't worry about it.
These are the hands of a guy from the 60s. You know what I mean? This technology shit. It's like, I know how to work this, but I mean,
but you know what? It's funny you say that, because at the end of the day, I think you were one of the most technically proficient guitarists of your time, because
I would give that to Edward Van Halen, actually, or Alan Holdsworth, or somebody worthy. I was a studio musician. I'm very proud of that, and I was able to do a lot of different things and work with so many legendary artists in different styles, and have a rock band, or what I always call a rock band, even though they shove so many ballads out there, people think we're like some pussy little band. They should probably come check us out live. But and ironically, the guitar player writes the sappy tunes. There it is.
Right.
I'm still romantic at heart, but I still love the way an A chord sounds through a stack of Marshalls.
No, totally. Back in the day, who came up with the wet, dry, wet setup? Was it you or Ed?
Wow, that's funny. Well, we had the same guy, Bob Bradshaw.
Right.
So I'm going to give it to Bob to say, you know what? Why that works is when you're playing in an arena, the wet shit, you lose it in a big arena because it's reverby and stuff. If you have one dry cabinet but has no effects, you can still have your stereo effects for you as the guitar player and artist to hear their stuff right on stage, but they can still use a little bit of that, maybe use less of it, and lean on the clean stuff so that you can get the clarity. Now I just use 2 amps and I hardly use anything, but back in the days of the racks, when we started realizing it was getting washy sounding, especially in a live, bigger reverby room, that we needed a thing. So, Ed and I were both working with Bob at the time. So, I mean, I'm going to have to give this one to maybe Ed, being the genius boy that he is, always thinking ahead, may have put the idea in Bob's head, and I benefited from it, just by being friends and being there at the same time.
No, it's interesting. So like when you're on stage and you're playing with the wet, dry, wet setup, are the wet cabinets as loud as the dry, or are they a little lower
Well,
or louder?
on mine, no, it doesn't always work this way. Carlton does his different. Like he mics his amp and then puts it through a thing and then has reverb and whatever other effects coming out of that with the dry dumble, say, in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I just use two cabinets now with have a little bit of effect in both, but I don't really use that much anymore. But when I was using more back in the day, I would have a little bit of the dry sound also mixed in with the wet. So it wasn't just like, echoes going crazy left and right and you're kind of lost. So it just kind of smoothed it out for me. Also for them out front, they had more control of the 3 channels to use what they needed. If we were playing in outdoors, say, where it's real dry, you could use more of it. But if you were indoors in an arena and it's just like, a 10-second reverb, then it would just mess things up and people bitch and moan, I couldn't hear you or whatever.
I can't hear your flanger.
It's always what you want to hear after a show. Great show. I couldn't hear you though. It's like, what do you mean? I listen to the playbacks and fucking in the arena. It's like during sound. What is it really? Okay, give me a ballpark, and it's not buried.
Yeah.
You can't please anybody. So, I heard too much bass. Well, you were sitting in front of the bass bin. It's like,
you're sitting in the corner of the freaking amphitheater where all the bass gets sucked up.
Nosebleed seats, and you don't want to know why it doesn't sound like the record.
Yeah, your nose is bleeding. You can't hear my flanger. Sorry.
And I don't mean that. Listen, I'm happy for anybody that buys a ticket. We've gotten better. Technology's live sound has gotten a lot better. It is continuing on that path. So. As soon as we're allowed to get out of the house and use it, we're geared up and ready to go.
So what's going on with this live stream then? So it's TOTO.
Well, yes and no. Yes, it is semantically, and that's how it's being advertised. And me and Joe are the only ones left, and I own 25% of the name, and so does David Page, and he stands with us.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to put a band together to go out, not only to pay our legal bills and pay ourselves back what was taken from us in this insane lawsuit. We want to play. And so Joe and I both made solo records, and we were going to go out together as Luke and Joe.
Right.
And then Paige, I forget who brought it up. I said, well, we paid for the freaking name. If we never use it, we're never going to be able to pay back. We got to pay back these bills without having to take it out of my own pocket. And okay, well, there's been 15 incarnations of the band. So this one's still got the singer and me standing in front, along with X, who played with Prince and was with us on the last thing. And we got Warren Ham back, who's the multi-instrumentalist singer guy. But we got a new second keyboard player, Steve Majoy, who sings really high but has a Ray Charles vibe to it. And he plays great keyboards. And we got my first friend in life, John Pierce, who's a studio guy and played with Huey Lewis for years. And Huey's not working anymore. And we got Sput, man, from who used to be, believe it or not, was Snoop Dogg's musical director for 10 years, but was also in Snarky Puppy, which is like the young version of the hot guys, like when we were young. Like they're doing all the cool shit. They're a little more jazzy than we were. I'm big fans of their work. And he's a powerhouse, and he also listens to metal and all this other stuff. So
nice.
He's got a hard edge to him, but he's got wicked ass chops, man. Like, you know what I mean? And he was in Ghost Note, which is an offshoot of one of those of Snarky Puppy. They were with X, our keyboard player. So he said, I got a guy, and I said, because I couldn't afford, because I have to pay.
All
off
that
the
money
gross to the people besides David and I that own the name. How's that for a nice way to put it? While they're sipping martinis at the golf lounge,
Yeah.
Or whatever,
You're sitting there wondering, like, why am I paying you?
That comes out of the gross, which is where the profit is.
Well,
so everything's like Madonna makes $500 million on a tour. Like she gets to take that check home. Like she doesn't have to pay for the 200 trucks and the 200 and 400 people on the road, salary, insurance, taxes and all the shit, and how much it costs to put people on the road, pay salaries and all that stuff. So I mean, it's expensive. So I mean, what you take home every night, I mean, that does affect it. So I had to get some guys that were badass, but didn't charge the studio guy wages.
Right.
I
That
love
makes
the guy.
sense.
And there was also some people who didn't get along, and a guy that just didn't want to be on the road ever and was there making that known every night. And it was just excruciating. That's why it ended in Philly. And I said, this version's done. I never said it was over. And Toto made zero money last year in terms of new money. We didn't do anything. So the name is like, okay, if you don't use the name, it doesn't bring any money in except for past royalties from record deals made when we were 19 years old.
Right.
And the issue with the name was brought up because it wasn't dealt with back then and somehow dumped in my lap after I took over management, after having three of the biggest in the business screw up our business and finances and didn't do what they were supposed to do, like copyright the name in 1977. That would have been a book one management move, huh?
Right.
And you find this out later, it got screwed up after Jeff died, and then instead of a phone call, we got served with papers like we were stealing money, and that was proven not true, and they never took it back. But whatever, life goes on. I realize some people in this world are just going to hate me because they do. I don't know.
That's it, man. Haters gonna hate, as Taylor Swift
Haters are
sang.
going to hate. I just don't want to pay money for it anymore.
No, that's it. Why should you have to pay money for it? You worked hard for that shit.
I mean, it's not like, here's the thing. I didn't write Africa. David Page and Jeff Porcaro, and Jeff Porcaro's widows, made 5-figure millions off of this, and I have made nothing off of it. So why is Mike's wife angry when she benefited? The reason why we got back together was to help Mike when he was suffering through ALS. I mean, these people joined forces against the guys that made everybody, against David Page, who made everybody their first big money by him and Jeff putting the band together. And now it turns into this, let's all hate Steve Lukather and blame it on him shit. And I'm like, not doing it anymore. Too old for this shit. I don't know how much longer I got left, judging by my friends. Even though I'm, led a clean life the last 11 years, there were the holy shit years too. They tell me I had a great time.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah, I was young the first time around. It was all new, and I didn't know any better. I was young. I was doing what the big boys were doing.
Yeah. So you're a big partier, big drinker.
Oh yeah, I drank too much, man. That was my downfall. That fucked me up more than anything.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to be, and I wasn't an ugly punch anybody out drunk. I was just sloppy, fall down drunk. Laughing. I love everybody to a fault, I think. And I'd get thrown out of joints and shit by mouthing off to people.
Yeah.
I was young and stupid, and it fucked up my playing because I just, I wasn't happy at the time about anything in my life, and I was just trying to drink it away like a fool. And unfortunately, these things still exist thanks to the miracle of YouTube, and the people love to remind me about how fucked up I was. The people I don't know with fake names, like. I mean, even though it was 11 years ago, you think it happened yesterday,
Yeah.
It's like, all right. It's like, I feel bad for politicians who, like, they drag out shit, stupid drunk shit they did 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And blame it on and humiliate them today, even though they're nothing like the person they were in college, say, or high school.
No, totally. As everybody gets older,
the statute of limitations of like, okay, you can go back 20 years and that's it.
Yeah, you can't hold that shit against
you. As a kid. People my age were idiots. And now I'm the old guy. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now you're full of wisdom and,
Yeah, but you know what? There's some truth in my, in that cliche about, if I knew now what I knew, if I knew then what I know now,
Yeah.
I wish I could go back and beat the fuck out of myself and say, don't do that and save your money. Don't do this. What are you doing? No, she's not the right one for you.
There's always a chick somewhere at the store,
Save your money, kid. I had to learn that by getting ripped off and fucked around. I learned everything the hard way. No, you shouldn't do this. Snort that shit. No, you shouldn't drink too much. No, you don't trust your accountant. No, you don't trust. Be a little bit more sober when you make your decisions.
School of hard knocks, though.
Same ones,
makes you a better person.
Yeah, but that's what life is. One big long lesson. I'm still enjoying my lesson.
Well, that's good. I really like the new song you put out, Run to Me.
Oh, well, let me explain that to you. Why it came out so early in the whole deal. It was written for Ringo's 80th birthday party.
Oh.
And since we couldn't have a party for him because of this COVID nightmare,
Right.
Everybody, did stuff for him. So myself, Joseph Williams, and David Pates wrote a song with a 60s Tom Petty-ish kind of like, Ringo kind of thing.
Yeah.
A positive message, the whole thing, And I wrote it for him and did it in a day. And Joseph came over and filmed it in my backyard with an iPhone. And that was the video. It cost $0 to make.
Nice.
And it was a gift, but it came, and Ringo heard it and loved it and wanted to play on it. So we went up to his house and we filmed him playing on it. And Joseph smacked it together and we put it out, and they didn't show it on his video reel.
What?
So I don't know why. A lot of the guys in the All-Star Band didn't get on. It was pretty funny. But he loved it, and he goes, I said, look, I'm going to put this out as a single, summer single, just because it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the rest of the record, because the rest of my record is harder edged and more jamming and more live
cool.
and all that other stuff. It has nothing to do with this poppy kind of. This is the most pop thing I've, thing was written totally with the Beatles in the 60s era inspired. Joseph did a wonderful like horn arrangement like Burt Bacharach would have done or something, or George Martin might have done, what we imagined that. And I said, this is too cool and it's something weird on my record. Let's put it out now just for a heck. And it's got like almost 500,000 views on fucking YouTube, and I don't know, got hopefully 200,000 on Spotify. So it's on the album. It's like the second to last cut, but it's not really what my record's all about. But thanks for digging it as just a standalone pop song, because that's what it was meant to be. It was a gift.
I dug it because as soon as I heard the Sustainer solo, I was like, I'm sold.
That's funny. No, a lot of people ask me what that was. I dug that one out of the pile. And I said, let's do something weird.
Yeah.
Because, I can't,
What possessed you to do the Sustainer solo on that?
You got it. That's what it was. I mean, the regular punter would not know what that noise is.
Yeah. So what possessed you?
For a while, so I thought, well, let's use it.
Well, you were saying earlier that, back in the day, you had a lot of effects in your rig and all this stuff, and you kind of scaled back, but then you go and do a Sustainer solo on the pop song.
I didn't throw it all away, man. I just retired some of it. I still got it. I still got racks and racks of shit.
Yeah.
But I should plug in. I was threatening to do one tour where I used, depending on what the song is, I used the exact rig that I used in the studio.
Nice.
And use the exact same guitars. I bring out the 59 burst, bring out the fucking robot guitar, bring out the Bob Bradshaw rack, bring out the old, well, somebody bought the Fender amp, but something of the early 80s,
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because you're the best person I could ask. Why do you think modern guitar players are so afraid of those awesome processed tones of the 80s?
Well, first off, they're using them. They're just in pedals now. If you've ever looked at, you could look at some of these guys' pedals that say like, "Oh, I can't use that rack shit," and it's the same shit, or they're lying, and there's a rack backstage with a guy doing it. Okay, that's what I'm telling you about this stuff. What do you think the Edge was going to go on stage with no echoes? You know what I mean? No. It'd be a short show, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then I got blamed for all the overuse of it because it was on a couple of hit records. And then, you get these producers that go, "Oh, I got to have that sound." And you're going, "Are you sure you got to have that sound?" Yeah. And I used it. It was truly 1985. And I got it from Landau, who got it from Buzzy Feet, who turned it on to Bob Bradshaw. And it's not Bob's fault. I mean, if I turn everything on, like the first time I did the Starlix video was the first day I got it. So I was enamored with it all. And I turned everything on, and now it sounds like an underwater kazoo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm 35 years old, and I can't get it taken down, and people are going, "Wow, nice tone." It's like, guys, are you going to blame me for shit that happened 100 years ago? Please.
No, I just love all those old school 80s tones. Like, did you ever use a Rockman, like in the studio?
Yeah, not in the studio, but I have one in a little studio at home that I used. Yeah. I'm a big Tom Scholz fan. I love Boston. I think, we all got bagged into this like corporate rock thing, which, anybody that signs a record deal, sorry, punk guys, if you signed a record deal, you are a corporate rock band. Even with the minor league, they're still making money off of you, and you a lot more than you. So,
you're right.
You can call me names all you want. I'm still here 45 years later. My career's still here.
No, exactly. Out of all the sessions that you've done through the years, did you ever get a chance to work with Mutt Lange?
No, and I always wanted to because, man, he's made some of my favorite records, from AC/DC to Def Leppard to all the other crazy stuff, to even Shania Twain, man. You know, I mean, he kind of screwed up country music. I don't think they like him too much there.
No, he
But
completely changed it. It's
well,
amazing.
because he brought a more classic rock with a fiddle and a pedal steel, basically.
Hmm.
You know, they were still using Marshalls and, you know, quadrupling vocals and all the rest of the stuff he does so well. But I'm a big, I, we always produced our own stuff, you know. I mean, to me, I made my record in 8 days. Mutt
Wow.
likes to take 8 years,
Yeah, that's true.
you know, and I'm past that. If he'd have caught me in 1990, I would have been all in.
Hmm.
He might have saved us. He might have fucking wrote us and produced us a #1 record. I mean, that's what he does. I'm a big fan and admirer. If I met him, I know people that know him well and say he's a great guy and all that stuff. But I mean, I'm a fan. But we do things our own way, and I'm kind of stuck in my ways to. I'm not trying. Listen, even if I wrote a #1 record, who's gonna play it? Unless I get Ariana Grande to fucking like do a
Yeah.
duet with me. And the only duet I could imagine doing with her, I couldn't mention to you without being arrested.
Hey now.
No, I got nothing against her, but see, as I have little kids, I had to watch her on that kid show. It
Yeah.
was like fingernails on a blackboard to me. You know what I mean?
Well, what do you think about modern pop music? Because I mean, you played on the biggest album, the biggest pop album of all time, and if that came out this year, like, do you think it would have had the same
Thriller?
impact? Yeah, on Thriller. Like, do you think that would have had the same impact this year that
No.
it did?
I don't think anything has an impact anymore. There's too many outlets. There's
Mm.
too much product, man. You know, there's too many people. There's got to be somebody saying, no, you're not ready yet. Instead of just everybody can compete, 10,000 new records come out. Who's gonna has the time to? No wonder they say the album's dead. Who has time to listen to one song? Life
Yeah.
is complicated. We got these little gadgets that, you know, that we're obsessed with.
Hmm.
That's my girlfriend, by the way. She's
Nice.
pretty hot. You want to see her?
Yeah, she's pretty hot. She's beautiful. You're a good boyfriend. You got her as the phone background. Damn.
Well, I change it up with my kids too. But wait, why can't I get to, oh, I know why, because I have to let it, wait, go like that. Okay, that's not it. All right, well,
Yeah.
you know, when she comes back, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap up pretty soon, but real quick, man, just for my just for my radio station, you know, talk to me a little bit about Michael Jackson, because we play a whole lot of Michael Jackson on the radio station, and they'd
he
be
was
really
great, man.
upset.
I never saw nothing weird except Bubbles, man. That was kind of weird. But the first time we actually met was on the McCartney duet.
Right.
And I was mind fucked to meet Paul McCartney, because the Beatles are the reason why I play music in the first place. And him and Linda were awesome. And then he came in, he was great. We started jamming I Was Made to Love Her, that Stevie Wonder song.
Mm.
And that created the energy of the sessions. And Paul took a shine to Jeff and me and hired us to be in his movie. And we hung out with them and talked. And it was like one of the best days ever. And Quincy was there. And I was doing all the Quincy stuff at the time. I did the Dude record right before that.
Mm.
Some of the guys in Toto did Off the Wall. I think Dave and Steve. I didn't get there at that point, but David Foster turned me on to Quincy, and I did like 5 or 6, 7 records in a row with him. Learned a lot. And we're
Wow.
still friends. I saw him at the Montreux Jazz Festival. We sat down, and all he wanted to talk about was how much he was getting laid in his 80s.
Well, he's got a hot broad too these days.
You gotta love a cat. It's all about the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sex and money.
Yeah. Talk about Beat It really quickly. What kind of guitar did you use on that track?
I used my 59 burst.
Oh,
Through
wow.
a Fender amp. I did it originally through this big stack of Marshalls, but then Quincy called me and said, "It's too much, man. We got to get this on R&B radio, man. Use one of those little Fenders you got."
Mm.
So I had to back off the distortion a little bit because I knew Eddie was on it. I'm like going, "Come on, man. I gotta make this fucking rock for Ed, you know?"
Yeah.
I played bass on it too, and Jeff played drums. It was really complicated to put it back together because there was no click track, and someone cut the tape for Ed. I thought it was his original engineer, Don Landy, but they said there was somebody else there. And Bruce Swedeen knows better, so I don't know what the real story is, and I don't know if I'll ever will.
Mm.
But as far as I heard, they cut the 24-track tape, and with the SMPTE code, you can't sync up the tape to the master reel, and the master reel had Eddie's first generation guitar solo, Michael's quintupled lead vocal, all comped and ready to go, which they were not ready to go through. Do that again. They wanted that first generation sound as much as you could when you have that many vocals. But and him banging 2 and 4 on a drum case just to make a weird backbeat noise and bleed through his headphones singing. So we had to make the record backwards. And so Jeff went out and made his own click track, listening to cranking it up really loud to hear how the song kind of with the 2 and 4 from Michael, because there was no click track. So he had to make his own with drumsticks, and only Jeff could do stuff like that.
So even like at the beginning of that song,
he got it right away, and he went out and played his part, got the drums on it.
Yeah.
So the drums matched with the vocal and everything like that. Then I started adding the guitars. I added a whole shitload of guitars. I did the bass part because I said, well, I might as well get it all out of the way at once and send it to him. And then I went over and worked out all the other rhythm parts with Michael and Quincy in the room. So it was a pretty complex thing. It's in my book. You got to read my book, The Gospel According to Luke. So yeah, shameless plug. Number 1 on Amazon.
You can't beat that. So, just really quick, talk about that story, because you said that Quincy wanted you to use, something less distorted because Ed was on there. But he also told the story that he actually had to reduce the amount of distortion on Ed's tone after the fact. But how do you do that?
Do that in 1982. I don't know. I mean, I think they wanted me to tone it down so it sounded less metal and more. There was an acceptable amount of distortion you could get on pop records.
Yeah,
and I was always the guy they called for that shit. But if you double it, it sounds cool. But I gave them what they wanted. I mean, who knew it'd be the biggest record in history? We did. Human Nature was basically a TOTO song that Steve Porcaro wrote, that we did with Michael singing.
Right.
And that made the cut. We did that, and we did the duet with McCartney, which was fun. Yeah, silly, but fun. It was a positive experience for me. I didn't see any weirdness, that you read about, but I wasn't around. We were the same age. Yeah. He knew I had a weird sense of humor because I did overdubs with it. I'm a smart ass. I'm the same person for my kids' teachers, you, me, anybody. Yeah. That's just who I am. So I don't edit my material too much. So some people get freaked out by that. But
hey, it's all right up my alley.
Yeah, I heard that. I got your vibe, man. Well, thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, dude, I'm very stoked. I got your transition DiMarzio neck pickup in one of my guitars, and I love.
What do you think?
Oh, I love it. It's really cool.
All right, great.
Yeah, I dig that. New solo album, I Found the Sun. It's coming out on February 26th. You can pre-order it now. It's available wherever music is sold. Are you planning on selling albums? There's going to be CDs, vinyl of this, or is it just go streaming on Spotify?
It will be in Europe and Asia. It won't be here. I mean, I can't find a record store. I think Amoeba might have it.
Didn't they
That's
close?
The only one. That's Hollywood for me. That's like 10 minutes, 15 minutes away. I live in the Hollywood Hills. Right.
And the TOTO live stream.
The cliche of it all, I know.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm looking forward to the live stream too. I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah, check out the band. I mean, it's not going to be the most visually outrageous thing you've ever seen.
But who cares? You're going for the music.
Joe's going to cut it, and if he does it, it's going to be weird as we can get it, quick. But that was the only thing. The band, band's killer. It's just, it's just got to make the visuals look right.
Yeah.
And then it's always something, man. You always got to put out some fire somewhere. It's all good.
Well, anyway, that's it.
Thank you very much for your time, brother.
Yeah, thanks a lot for chatting. Appreciate it. And
I'm sorry I was late, but
hey, nature calls.
When you get to a certain age, you never pass up a good dump. You know what I mean?
You get one good one a day if you're lucky.
I love to leave a lasting impression. God bless you, man. Have a good one.
All right. We'll talk to you later, man. Peace.